The ordinary penny is usually something we all overlook, especially in the days of Apple Pay and credit cards. Even in a coin jar, it's the currency we most often simply leave behind. But there's one woman who knows exactly how to put her pennies to work. DIY enthusiast Tanya Tuners took to Imgur to share an amazing penny project that people are positively loving. To begin her work, she gathered as many of the copper coins together as she could and got started placing them in a special design on the floor. For her project, she used about 13,000 pennies, or $130 worth. She also said she employed 10 bottles of Elmer's glue, some grout I found in my basement, and some damn expensive epoxy, about $150. A tub of wood filler because plywood is holy and pennies are small, and a few pieces of wood. The finished product, as you'll soon see, was literally worth every penny. Tanya started by measuring the area and locating the precise center of the floor. After that, she drew an axis to use as a guide and glued the pennies to the floor to form the shape of a diamond. Next, it was important to let everything dry so she could glue the next set of pennies in place without the whole thing sliding. When you look at Tanya's design up close, you can see how the pennies really transformed this floor. It was turning into such a unique look, wasn't it? You can really appreciate just how much time and effort went into turning this space into something special. Working toward the second corner, Tanya wrote, "You can see my bowls of sorted pennies. The big sorted bowl in the back are the ones that were in the gray area between shiny and dark. I later used those too." Talk about an attention to detail. Tanya did have some tricks up her sleeve to make it look more consistent. "Here's where I started realizing that there were not going to be enough dark pennies," she explained. "Bought some liver of sulfur to turn them a blue-purple-black color. Since there was suddenly a new shade, I had to go back through the pennies I already had laid and pry some of the naturally tarnished ones and replace them." By the time that Tanya was ready to work on the final corner of the room, the whole project was really starting to come together. It must have been exhausting. "Here I have our super cushy standing desk mat for laying," she joked. Eventually, with all the pennies in one place, Tanya was able to add the finishing layer of epoxy. How beautiful does this look now that the shiny layer was applied? After all that work, it must have felt incredible to walk around this gorgeously finished floor. Besides grout and epoxy, Tanya was also careful about alternating between the heads and tails sides of each penny in order to give the pattern a nice sense of visual contrast. It must have required a lot of focus, but it was worth it. You can see the pennies alternating heads, tails, and they all face the same direction because I'm crazy and I hate myself, Tanya joked. She may be a perfectionist, but she really ought to be proud of herself for her magnificent work. There's no shortage of things you can do when you're creative enough. Maybe Tanya will start a new trend in interior design.